And now, it's time for An Audience with the Pope, featuring esteemed, distinguished, and renowned trial attorney, Anthony Pope.
Oh, wait a minute. I've been here. How long have I been here? 6 years we're going in? Who has an opening like that? Frankie, how did that happen? Who put that together?
It was nice. He has an intro that doesn't include former in his introduction.
or breath here, Joe Piscopo. Superstar. You know, Anthony, welcome, man. Good to see you, brother.
Joe? Good to see you.
Welcome
Again.
back. We've been talking.
Frank.
Anthony, you got early because there was no traffic today?
Yeah, it was crazy. I came in really early from Jersey.
You're the man.
But fortunately, Starbucks was open next door. So.
Yeah. You came in. Listen,
and I've been hanging with you guys. So that's great.
So this is very exciting. And I see the phone calls. Hold the calls because I want to go to a couple calls. 6 after 8 o'clock, Joe Piscopo on the radio. We're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook. How are you? By the way, Steve from the LAPD. Anthony's a former cop. Steve, he went on the Big Perlo tour with us. And what a great guy with his lovely wife. Steve, thanks for watching, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your service to the Los Angeles Police Department. Appreciate you watching out there. You know, I went over and I saw the cops, Anthony. I'm walking down Italy. Me and a couple of Debbie was with us, Frankie V, and Steve from the LAPD. And everybody had gone, and we're walking in Florence. This was last week. And I see Polizia Italiana. I see the cops. They look like movie stars, all the cops. You ever see those cops with the automatic weapons, with the beards, the cigarettes? They got cigarettes. They smoke while they're on duty. They don't care. I said, Steve, I got to get a picture with these guys, with the cops. So he goes, wait, I got this. He walks over. He's got his LAPD badge. He flashes it. LAPD. They go, oh, hey, bye, come on.
That's great.
They took a nice picture. I took a picture. Debbie said, wow, look at those handsome guys.
Yeah.
Debbie took the picture. So, Steve, thank you for your service, brother. And God bless you. Thanks for joining us on that Perillo tour. Great to have you with us. 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. Speaking of police, Anthony Pope was a cop at 19 years old. It's a great story. Went on to be a prosecutor in Essex County, New Jersey. And then worked out while he was at the this is a dear friend, so forgive me, and this is a great human interest story, and why I'm proud to bring it to the airwaves, because I love success. I love what you go through, and you meet me, and when we talk after it's a show, or whether it's in the street, or whether it's Steve with the Los Angeles Police Department, or Joey Falco, my buddy, who's done so much and working and having such a great time. I love Mimi, my friend, everybody's with us, Guy and Bernadette, all the people that we meet, the family that is out there. Anthony, to put himself through school, worked in a junkyard in Newark, New Jersey. Iron, was that what it was?
It was a yard that they put toxic waste and junk.
Oh, that's
While
good.
I was going
How
to
you
law
feeling,
school and
all right?
working with the prosecutor's office. Yeah, it was funny because I'm working a part-time job for extra money. I think I was making $7 an hour, and it's January. It's freezing, and I hear some scraping at the trailer, which I'm sitting in, and I said, what is that? And I open up the window, and it's rats trying to get into the trailer because it's so cold outside, you know. So
You're
at the time, I
something?
had a weapon on me because I was an investigator, and I fired a couple shots just to make them scurry away. But I went back to reading, and I said, well, it can't get any worse than this. It can only get better. I'm in a trailer with rats trying to get in. So.
And your dad, tell me about your dad for a second before we talk about the podcast that you do.
Yeah,
you
know, my father was a wonderful man. He was a World War II veteran. He landed at Normandy the first day, one of the first incursions into Normandy.
Wow.
And he was a hero of mine, there's no question, you know, and he was born and raised in Newark, and his father passed away when he was 8 years old, so he was working in a gas station at 8 years old for 10 cents a night.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, just a hardworking guy, humble guy, beautiful guy. Died much too early, but and my mom was just the matriarch of the family.
Beautiful
Gloria,
guy. Beautiful guy.
She'll be gone 7 years, but you know that's the key to everything. You know, having a family setting like that. When you grow up with parents like I did, I won the lottery. I really did. Just to have
and your
parents
dad was
them.
a truck driver, basically.
Yeah,
right?
he was a truck driver, trailer driver, truck driver. Yeah.
So tell me about, if you would, we're going to go to the podcast and what you're talking about. But you got to tell me when you got that song. You and I believe in that sometime. You, Anthony, and forgive me, I'm going to get into this because he's one of my best friends. You got the sixth sense, and you see things and feel things. People have that. I think sometimes I see that. What happened with your father? Remember, you said he's going to leave you a sign, and then you saw something on a truck.
Oh yeah, well it was.
Forgive me, is that too personal?
No, it's not at all. No, his nickname was Nooch. Everybody called him Uncle Nooch. His name was Anthony, but everybody called him Uncle Nooch from when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I was coming down 280 once, and I said, I just wish Dad. I was talking to him, if to give me a sign, and here comes this truck with a license plate that said Nooch. And I looked at it. I said, "That's crazy." I said, "That's unreal."
Yeah.
So,
out of all things,
look, it is what it is. The fate. Either you have faith or you don't have faith.
Yeah.
And faith means not having any real evidence to prove something.
Yeah.
So either you believe or you don't.
Yeah.
And as a lawyer, that's always tough for me because everything I do is based on evidence. So.
Well, as all my legal friends, including Judge Napolitano, including Arthur Aidala, they all know you. They love you. Tell us about the podcast. We're very excited that you're here on the station with the podcast.
Yeah, I want to kick it off today, the first series. And, this audience with the Pope, this is something that happened when New Jersey Magazine did an article on me a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was with the Super Lawyers magazine.
Right.
They interviewed me, and I wasn't sure what they were going to call it. And so all of a sudden the magazine comes out, and there it is, an audience with the Pope.
I remember. That was
so
great.
I said, that's pretty cool, because I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have thought it was disrespectful, even to say an audience with the Pope.
A lot of us wish you were the Pope, Anthony. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, I'll tell you.
The podcast, I just want to give some information to the public. And one of the things I wanted to talk about first is what I think is the cornerstone of our Constitution, and it's due process. And while you're watching the news and you're listening to everybody on the news and you're seeing the division that exists politically, you're seeing the foundation of Washington, Congress, and the Senate. You see so much divide there. Ladies and gentlemen, our due process rights are clearly the cornerstone of our Constitution to a large extent and to our civilization. The idea that no one can take your liberty, can take your property without due process. Due process is involved in civil litigation, it's involved in criminal litigation, and really what it is that fundamental fairness that exists. What our forefathers wanted for us is a government to be balanced, a government to balance their powers with fairness for the people, with the rights of the people. And before anything can happen, you need to be put on notice of an allegation. Whether it's eminent domain, whether it's a criminal charge that you've been falsely accused of, whether it's a civil action that somebody's suing you, you have to be put on notice. You have to be given the opportunity to be heard. You have to have discovery. You have to know what it is that somebody's saying about you. You have the right to confront people who are saying something against you. You have the right to call the government to task and make them answer and be accountable for their actions. And that seems to be a problem today. I watch the news and it scares me because my idea of due process is that absolute balance. And when the government or the state or another individual comes after one of us, we have the right to ask for everything that's involved in it, have transparency about it, the right to defend ourselves, the right to be secure in our persons and property. It goes so far and so deep. And everything that's happening today, when there's a lack of transparency, when there's too much politics that's injected into the process, that due process is lost. And the transparency gets lost, the right to discovery, the right to confront witnesses, all of that seems to be taking somewhat of a back seat to simply people's narratives and their particular views.
This is why we wanted Anthony on this particular situation and topic, because how many times have I railed about what happened with the Mueller probe? And you and I have talked about it off camera and off mic. How they went after Michael Cohen. Good, bad, or indifferent, however you feel about Michael Cohen. They broke that client-lawyer privilege between Donald J. Trump, Citizen Trump, and Michael Cohen. How did they get in there? And Roger Stone's lawyer, jurors are being picked today. Roger Stone is, Frankie, what is it up to? $3 million now is legal?
Well, that's what his legal bill is, yes.
Anthony Pope, a Gestapo-style raid, and we love the Department of Justice. We love the FBI. We love all law enforcement. But when you get somebody like Robert Mueller to abuse it, and the Democrats to abuse it, and then, so listen to the collateral damage we have now. What happened? And Roger Stone, General Flynn, Paul Manafort's still in jail. I don't care what he did outside. It was for Russia collusion. They divert it. Explain to me how the government can come in and say, okay, we're going in for Russia collusion, but you know what? You did something else, and we're going to lock you in solitary confinement because you said you did something else. How in the name of God in the United States of America does this happen?
Well, Joe, there's a lot of issues you just raised, so it's difficult to answer them all. But there's no question when people come to me and they're charged with an offense, the federal government or the state charges them with something, and they say, how strong is my adversary? I say, well, they've won 2 world wars and they print their own money. When you have an enemy like that, and when I use the word enemy, I don't mean that to belittle or to criticize the men and women that work within the institutions.
Understood.
And I think that there are people that have integrity, they do the right thing, but the institution as a whole is being compromised because politics is playing too much of a role. Yeah. So I say this to all the viewers. Please understand that your due process rights are still within the Constitution. They have to be strong, but you have to stand up to it. You have to believe that. So when you go out and vote today, whoever you vote for, I could care less. Vote for somebody that believes in the Constitution. Vote for somebody that believes in due process. Vote for somebody that wants transparency. We cannot have politics be playing such a role in our system. The balance between government and the people is being lost. The pendulum has swung much too far one way, and it's because of the politics that's going on in Washington. So for the viewers, my law firm is dedicated to due process. Whether it's a family law case, whether it's a criminal case, a personal injury case, you have the right to be defended. You have the right to bring an action against someone else. We have a right to, under the law, be protected. And especially in criminal cases, nobody ever should be found guilty unless the evidence is beyond every and all reasonable doubt. Fight for your rights, because it doesn't seem like the people we've elected are doing exactly that.
It's so true. And the collateral damage of the Mueller probe. The
Horrible.
collateral, Hope Hicks, people we don't even know about, Michael Caputo, who comes on the show, millions of dollars, reputations ruined, homes lost. You see it firsthand because the government has unlimited resources, and they're going right at now. And the U.S.,
There's no question.
The Southern District of New York now, they accused Rudolph Giuliani of this. I'm trying to think, well, what did Rudy do? Why can't they just say things and it sticks, and then they accuse people because on hearsay. So it's great that you're telling me that listen, if, God forbid, something happened, you're the guy to go to in that because you wouldn't let it go by.
Well, no, listen, I've been fighting for it. I started my career as a police officer.
Yeah.
I was a detective in the narcotics squad. I was an assistant prosecutor in Essex County, and I've been a defense attorney now for the last, 27, 28 years. So due process is something that I always stood by. And when I was on the side of the government, I believed in it. And I believed my job was to seek justice. It wasn't to get a conviction. See, that's what troubles me today because prosecutors too much just want a conviction. Prosecutors are supposed to fight for justice. And if you think that the case is not strong enough, and if you think that someone's been charged or accused unwrongly, you're the first person that's supposed to come up and dismiss something. Okay? My job as a defense attorney is to win. My job is to punch holes in the government's case, to raise reasonable doubt. And if I do that, then I've held the standard for the Constitution that you can never find someone guilty. Because, look, we know people have been found guilty. We know people have gone to jail that were innocent. Okay, it happens. Listen, we're the best of an imperfect system, but we have to strive to make it better. And when we have political leaders that don't want to make it better, when they're more concerned about politics and re-election, and they allow the Constitution to take a back seat, that's when we run into trouble. So due process of law, the cornerstone of our Constitution. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again.
Anthony Pope right there. Well said, Anthony. I swear to God. So where can we find it now? Where can we find the podcast? We'll go to AM970theanswer.com.
AM970theanswer.com or just listen here every Tuesday at 8.
That's great. Anthony, proud to know you, man. You're a great
Likewise,
friend.
Joe.
And thanks for always being there for my family,
of course,
too, man.
Of course.
God bless you.